All right, welcome to your number one spot for news, reviews, and previews of the NFL's hardest hitting, typically at least the hardest hitting division. Kind of a weird week in week one, I guess. But welcome back. So here today we're going to be talking about the previews for the upcoming games. It's Thursday night right now, 9:30. So there is a game going on right now, but it's the Bucks and the Panthers. So like, who cares? But Joey cares, yeah, because he's got some people playing. I have someone playing on my bench, but whatever.
I've got three Panthers on my bench.
You have McCaffrey, don't you?
Crazy. I have McCaffrey. He's my big keeper.
Right.
I drafted Cam just because I felt like that was the smart play at the time. And I also ended up with DJ Moore.
Nice.
I try to let the draft come to me and just go with the flow. And then I was 7 rounds in, and I had 3 Panthers, and I was I got to do some bye week manipulation now.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have those connections if you know that they're consistent and stuff in fantasy football. But sometimes, like you were saying, with bye weeks, and then also if there's a flounder, with the team, you can get kind of hurt. But anyway, so like I said, we're going to be previewing the games that are coming up on Sunday. There is a game going on this week on Thursday. And as you'll notice, with the coming weeks, with the previews, we will be doing preview episodes during all the Thursday night games, to which the AFC North has a couple. So if you stick with us and watch us live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live, you'll be able to hang out with us while we watch some of our divisional games. It'll be good stuff. Will be fun times. That being said, we're also going to be doing our reviews on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube on Tuesdays at 9:30 at night. So that's p.m. Eastern time. So come by, check those out. It's good stuff. Interact with us. You can chat with us live. It's always good fun. If you can't, as always, listen to us on your favorite podcasting application, and tell your friends and tell your family. Pigskin Pick'em, it's in week 2. It's not too late to join. You can still win. You can at least win a week, right? And we can talk about you a little bit. But so feel free to join that. There's links all over the place. Check them out. AFC Northcast. It's good stuff. All right. So like I said, this episode we're doing the preview. We're also going to be talking about those mistress games that we're talking about, which are pick'em games that you really like to see somebody that you want to play, somebody that you're really high about this week, and then also the opposite side of that, so a game set that you're really low on. So we always talk about those on our previews as well. So you get a little bit of pick'em advice, I guess, when you listen to us on our previews as well, not just the AFC North. It'll be good stuff, though. But with that, we're gonna roll right into the preview games, I guess. Is there any news or anything that's worth talking about this week?
Everything I have is AFC North game related, so I'm just going to save it for preview talk.
Right.
We covered the new Antonio Brown stuff 2 nights ago. As far as NFL-wide news, I don't think there's been anything big, really.
Most of it's games and injury related and stuff like that, so we'll kind of get to it as it comes. You got anything, Chad, or no?
Nah, not really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some more interesting news and our consistent updates on the new Patriots star wide receiver as those come, I guess. We'll see what happens.
Wearing number 17 in practice, which is
you gotta be kidding.
An interesting little bit of
So for those of us that are, or those of you that are listening to the podcast and not watching it, Chad is wearing a Steelers jersey number 17 as we speak.
Man,
I didn't put that together until I said
left
it.
And right. Man, I thought this was going to be some good wide receiver juju, pun intended. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Well, Mike Wallace, he was good for a time.
Yeah,
he was fun with the old purple birds too.
There you go.
All right, so let's get rolling into the preview games. So I'm going to start off talking about the Jets and the Browns. Now, this is the Monday Night Football game, so usually we try to kind of save the marquee games for the last game to talk about. But I don't know if it's really even worth considering a marquee game, especially with recent developments that Sam Darnold has mono. That's right. That kissing, disease that you heard about when you were like 17 and in high school. Sam Darnold somehow fucking has that. I don't know. It's practically an STD. I don't know. Except you don't have. I don't fucking know. That's wild. But anyways, so it looks like Trevor Siemian's going to be playing against the Browns, which downgrades this game seriously. In fact, if it wasn't so early in the season, I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL like rotated it into a Sunday game or something crazy like that. But let's talk about actual football stuff. So I watched the Jets and the Bills play one another, and a couple big takeaways. I guess number one, the thing I want to talk about is how bad the Jets' offensive line was. The Jets' offensive line was abysmal. I think Sam Darnold has a lot more potential than what we see from him, at least what I saw from him last week. But the offensive line really just couldn't really hold anything for him. And I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, that the Bills' defensive line had any serious upgrades last year. In fact, and if anything, they got a downgrade, right? From, what's his name leaving?
They drafted Ed Oliver.
Oh, okay. They have Ed Oliver, but they lost Richie Incognito, right, to the Raiders?
Well, he's on the O-line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah.
No, who was I thinking of? Wasn't there a white dude on the Bills?
Kyle Williams retired.
That's right. So, yeah, same white dude. All those white dudes look the same.
Sean said talk about the Browns losing.
Yeah, right.
You're 2 days late, Sean.
Yeah. Go back to Tuesday, man. It was a good episode, I think.
No, don't worry, Sean. We'll talk about the Browns losing this game too.
So anyways, I think that with the defensive line that the Browns has, obviously, I think that should be a non-issue for them to be able to push on to the Jets' offensive line, put pressure on Trevor Siemian, of all people. And then with that, the Jets really have little to no weapons, in my opinion, other than obviously Le'Veon Bell. And then Jamison Crowder got a ton of catches last week. If you look at Sam Darnold's, like next-gen stats kind of lineup sheet or whatever, like all of his passes were within 5 yards or even behind the line of scrimmage because he just has really no deep threats whatsoever. So as far as offense goes, I really think the Jets are going to struggle in that sense. And the Browns defense, in my opinion, is better than the Bills defense. Like, I mean, they got Jordan Poyer. They got, I want to say Hyde, and like apparently they have Ed Oliver now. But other than that, not really a whole lot that I know of that the Bills have to contrast to the Browns. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Jets offense versus the Browns defense?
I think as far as deep threat goes, they have a pretty good one in Robbie something.
Robbie Anderson, yeah.
But Darnold missed him a couple times.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to have a great rapport. I think the only thing you have to look out for with Siemian, because their play calling in week one was like super conservative.
Yeah.
It seemed like. And part of it was probably they were up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that conservative play calling will probably be the way to go with the backup quarterback anyways when you have Le'Veon Bell. I would look out for, the Rashard Higgins of this team, the guy that's been getting the reps with Trevor Siemian, who he has chemistry with.
Right.
That type of thing, because that guy's probably going to be lining up in the slot, not commanding the tension from the secondary, and it could be Trevor Siemian's favorite target, whether it's a backup tight end or the third wide receiver, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was a starter, was not even last year or 2 years ago. So it's not like he's a 6th-round rookie that is getting his first NFL start. He's been around a little bit. But as far as the Jets on offense,
yeah,
Le'Veon Bell had an MRI today on his shoulder, so he's ailing. I don't know.
Yeah, it says that he's questionable, but I guess he put out on Twitter on Thursday that his shoulder is, quote, fine, and that he's expected to play.
It came back negative. They were looking for structural damage to his shoulder, and there isn't any.
Yeah,
I'm amazed at how seriously you guys are taking this game. Maybe it's my lack of imagination because exact thing last week. The Jets are no good. They don't have their starting quarterback, who is barely maybe good, and they're down to a guy that is terrible. Like, I only wrote down one note, and it's the linebackers don't get beat by Le'Veon if he even plays, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Check downs and screens. Like the guy, like they don't. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
Before the season started, would you have said the Titans were last place team in their division?
I still think the Titans suck. I picked them to lose this week.
And they just stomped the shit out of Cleveland in Cleveland.
I know. And Cleveland should be embarrassed for the rest of their lives, but they're already embarrassed about everything else, so there's no room on that platter, Joey.
And you know who's going to see some shit he's never seen before this week? Baker Mayfield, because Greg Williams is going to dial it up.
So we'll get to defense. We'll get to defense in a second.
Crapped the bed once C.J. Mosley went out, and he also might not play. Dude, this team has taking 4 good players, and none of them are going to play. If you can't win this game, you don't deserve to talk about playoffs or any of that other crap.
Right. You're taking my big point on defense, which was C.J. Mosley. But the last thing I wanted to talk about with the offense was Le'Veon Bell. And I wanted to, I guess, commend, and I guess even go roll back to the Steelers a little bit with that, is just like commend like how good Le'Veon Bell was. Like even behind such a garbage offensive line that the Jets have, like Le'Veon Bell still had a ton of success. So I think that he's, as long as he still plays, is still somewhat of a threat. Even though I think that the run stop from Cleveland is pretty good. You know, excuse the 75-yard run that Derrick Henry had last week because of a missed face mask call, but whatever. But anyway, so rolling to defense, yeah. So exactly like Chad said, my big point on defense is that Greg Williams has this really high risk, high reward type defense. Like you're either going to get chopped up on the middle a bunch, or you're going to throw an you're either going to chop them up on the middle, or you're going to throw an interception. Like that's just the kind of defense that Greg Williams seems to run, and it seemed to continue through to the Jets. But again, like you said, once C.J. Mosley went out, the defense was pretty much inept. Again, speaking to C.J. Mosley and his ability to do play calling and so forth. So if he doesn't play, yeah, that's why, again, not really much of a marquee game.
I would just add that they do have a really good strong safety in Jamal Adams. So C.J. Mosley's number 57, Jamal Adams is number 33. They're both hurt, but I think they're both going to play. But maybe we don't know for sure. But basically, you don't even have to worry about that. Cleveland has so many playmakers that you can just look at half the field. Like look at where they're not and throw it to anybody. Check it down to anybody. Even in what's his name? Njoku, he catches 70% of the balls you throw to him. Like, I just don't see a problem here. It's basically
let's hope not.
And for the record, I did say that this was a key game for the Browns this year because good teams go to away stadiums and beat teams they're better than. So this is, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better scenario. Like,
a better get right game.
Badly. And you're getting all the breaks. They're not even playing their quarterback. Their other players are all somehow already injured in week 2. Like, just go in and win like the Ravens did and get over those 3 fridges.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
It's true. Truth.
Also, adding a little bit of juice to this game, I don't know if anybody saw Odell Beckham's comments today about Greg Williams.
Oh, sure it wasn't about the watches?
No, in 2017, the Giants played the Browns in the preseason, and Odell Beckham believes that Greg Williams gave his players instruction to try to injure him.
I remember what you're talking about.
He suffered a high ankle sprain on a pretty questionable hit where he went high for a ball and the safety went like below the knee. Mm-hmm. He later in the season broke that ankle, which he attributes to the same sprain, the same hit, and then suffered also a quad injury on that leg that he also attributes to that high ankle sprain. So,
does he attribute the hip injury that kept him out of this entire preseason to that too?
But just a little bit of verbal jousting there. OBJ going after Greg Williams, who's had his fair share of
controversy,
bounty injury things.
Right. I will say that watching this game, the Jets and the Bills, to try to do a little study, I missed.
Asleep.
No, I miss Greg Williams is what it was. I miss Greg Williams. Steve Wilkes just didn't really do it for me, I guess. Or, fuck, whatever. All right, let's move on. Also, Vedvik. That sucks. If it wasn't, I mean, again, like you said last week, butterfly effect, but fuck. That sucks.
He got cut, right?
He did. They picked up, I don't remember his name, but they picked somebody up. I think it begins with an M. I don't know. But they picked somebody up to replace him. But yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. Which one do you guys want to talk about? Bengals?
Do we all agree that the Browns are going to win this game and not have their season be in the toilet after 2 weeks?
Yeah.
They should win this game and not have their season in the toilet after 2 weeks.
The Browns are going to win, and if you look at the schedule, the Jets are going to start like 0-7.
Oof.
They played the Pats twice, like in the next 5 weeks. Like, it is not pretty.
That sucks.
I haven't looked at the Browns' schedule, but I meant to, because the other thing here is that the Browns have like the Rams coming in next week.
Yep.
And,
and then
this is like actually
and then
a key
Seattle
game now. This is like a game.
Sanford and Seattle.
Like, they really need to come in taking this seriously. They cannot just be like, oh, we're playing a backup quarterback. It's going to be easy.
So,
like, you already played a backup quarterback. His name is Marcus Mariota.
Right.
I want to see a really good performance. Not to get too deep into fantasy football, but I left them in my starting lineup on all 3 leagues. Do not blow it, Browns.
All right.
Here's the next, let's say, 4 weeks. The next 4 weeks after the Browns game for the Jets. Jets at Patriots, loss. Jets at Eagles, loss. Cowboys at Jets, probably a loss. And then Patriots at Jets. It's pretty rough little stretch there. Pretty feasible 0-6.
So Sean says that the Jets win this week because Greg Williams knows Baker's weaknesses. And I actually thought about that. I was like, what kind of discussion is going to happen between the defense and the offense in that sense? But, the tough part is that, again, potentially you have a lot of your big playmakers on defense completely out. And I feel like teams are smart enough to take that stuff into account. Like, I feel like they're smart enough to say, hey, after 1 year of seeing Baker play, hey, Baker, maybe you might want to change this up, or maybe we'll change up the offense a little bit like this, or do something like that. I mean, I feel like I could see that, So I thought about that being a potential point, but I feel like it's kind of moot based off of the amount of talent that there is. And then Gary Thomas said the Browns are arguably the Jets' easiest game in their next 5, which is true.
Talked about that.
Which is again just attributes to how tough the Jets' upcoming schedule is. You guys have any opinion about the whole Greg Williams thing against Baker?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's familiar with Baker. He's familiar with the offense that Freddie Kitchens runs because he played it in practice all year last year. I don't know how different it is this year. Obviously, the personnel are different. Sean said Greg Williams is going to play linebacker in place of C.J. Mosley.
Oh, man. But you're nuts in the C gap.
But the Jets,
when he hits Odell,
the Jets have to find a way to score points, man.
Yeah. Yep.
And get a pass rush maybe without Quinnen Williams. So,
dude, this is just like last week. They should be able to win this game 6-0. Like, honestly, come on now. Like,
yeah. If Siebert doesn't miss those 2 field goals, or if he doesn't miss, well, I guess you're implying he'll miss the extra point. I see what you did there. I was thinking 2 field goals. You were thinking, gotcha. We're on the same page now. Let's move on.
I wasn't thinking anything. I could have said 1-0.
Right.
Kick the extra point, leave.
Yeah. Well, 1 is possible now, isn't it? 1-0?
No, I don't think so.
Is there some weird rule now? I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, maybe I was thinking something else. Anyways, yeah, go ahead. Who's got the Bengals?
I got the Bengals. Oh, we're talking about the Bengals before the Steelers?
No,
right.
Let's do Steelers first then, if that's what you want. I'm all about you.
Let's do the Steelers. All right, so basically for the offense for me, we talked about this a little on Tuesday, but we need to stay away from Bobby Wagner. He is a weapon of mass destruction. The Steelers have the capability to do this in the run game because both Marquise Pouncey and David DeCastro, their center and, don't yell at me, Sean, right guard, are really good at pulling, so they can move. They're very athletic. They can get to the second level, and even if they miss a block, because Bobby Wagner is shifty and fast and strong, like they should be able to at least disrupt his immediate flow to the ball for uninterrupted tackles for loss. So that's number one, numero uno point, is to stay away from Bobby Wagner and get blocks on him in the run game. Number two, I think Ben needs to get accurate with the deep ball. This always takes him a few games into the season to kind of get his deep ball rhythm. Seattle showed that they are weak to the deep ball in week 1. It can be made. And also, did you guys know that Ben Roethlisberger, after a career of letting the play go seconds and seconds and seconds, he was actually the fastest to throw the ball of any quarterback in the NFL last year?
Scared little bitch.
Maybe. Like,
that was
honestly...
That was because of Little Ben, right? Like we were talking last year. He wasn't Big Ben no more. He's Little Ben because he lost all that weight.
Well, part of it is remnants of the Todd Haley offense, which was designed before the offensive line really gelled, and it was to protect him. And so a lot of that stuff is still implemented into the game plan, but the offensive line is much better. It also worked a lot better, all these screens to the tight ends and bubble screens and stuff to the wide receivers, because the deep ball was so good. So everybody had to respect that deep ball, but now they don't. So you basically saw the Patriots probably should have had at least one interception. They're attacking those screens, and we can't have that happen and be effective. So at least the way the Steelers offense is designed right now, which is to never run play action because play action is awesome and they want to make things harder on themselves. They have to be able to throw the deep ball. And again, if you want to shit on Mike Tomlin, now's a great time to do it, because somehow the Steelers are ignoring the most obvious trend in the NFL, which is that if you can get everybody to think you're running the ball, your receivers get open a lot.
What a concept.
So that's kind of my keys to the offense. I think they're all doable. Honestly, Seattle's secondary showed openness to the deep ball, and I think the Steelers' offensive line is athletic enough that at least sometimes they should be able to get some hands on Bobby Wagner.
James Washington, do I play him this week in fantasy? Because he's on my bench.
No.
Okay.
Dude, not unless your team is terrible.
Heavens no.
I picked him up in the 8th round of fantasy. I was like, Chad was talking about, during the preseason, he had a couple good games. Like, maybe, we'll see what happens.
He's like, once Ben gets to Ben's got to have time to get some chemistry with him.
Right.
The one good thing.
No, it's all good. Sorry. I got Amari Cooper and Sammy Watkins, so I'll be all right.
That's better.
That's pretty good.
Ben is getting older, and sometimes you see, the deep ball start to slip because of age and arm strength. But Ben was overthrowing most of those deep balls last week, so I think he's capable. I think it's a timing issue and not a Big Ben can't do it issue.
Yeah, not used to not having the guy he's been playing with for,
Bingo.
You
guys have thoughts on the offense? Did I miss anything? You think they can have success against?
I think the big question here for me, and the thing that I would be looking to see from the Steelers, is the resurgence of the run game. Like, will they be able to keep that run game going that they were not able to do last week in order to keep defenses honest and be able to make those, deep balls like you were talking about, to actually pull people with play action, So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, it's tough. They sold out against Cincinnati to stop it, and it worked. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. They need something. They either need those short passes as the run game or some run game. They need to mix it up. But the short passes are only effective if you're having some success throwing down the field a little bit.
Yeah.
On defense, there isn't a lot to say here. I think that I think that the Seattle's general game flow and plan works to what the Steelers want to do. They like to run the ball a lot. The Steelers still think it's 1955, so they sell out on stopping the run. And then they just occasionally throw the deep ball like 3 times a game, and no one ever expects it when they do it.
And now, Russell Wilson hits it.
If you guys have been watching even one Steeler game over the last 2.5 years, and you can pick any one, they give up a deep touchdown. So that's a problem. Like, the communication needs to improve. Now, last week, I could blame it on Cameron Kelly starting at free safety. But you know what? He didn't start every game last year, and they're giving up deep balls left and right. So there needs to be serious communication between the corners and the safeties. Hopefully Sean Davis is back. I don't actually know if he's going to be. I think he practiced today and yesterday, so I think he'll play. But I don't think the Steelers will have a huge problem stymieing the run game. They did a great job against the Patriots, who proved over the second half of last year that they can be a really good running team. So I think with some decent communication between the safeties and the corners, you don't give up those deep touchdowns. Also, the Patriots early were getting receivers open by doing a lot of like sophisticated rub routes and fancy stuff. Seattle uses Tyler Lockett, who's not playing anybody. He's not interested in any of that. And DK Metcalf, who's big and capable, but he's a rookie. So I don't think he's got the route running savviness, since all he does is run straight lines, to actually run those types of routes. So I feel like this is a great opportunity for the Steelers to look like not a bunch of assholes like they did last week. Like they should be able to defend this team if Seattle plays the way they want to. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think home opener defense is going to have just a little bit extra. It's almost certainly going to be a close game. I feel like Seattle only plays in close games,
right?
Except when Todd Gurley runs for 700 yards in a game against them. But yeah, I don't even know what the key to this game is. On offense or defense. Seattle wants to run the ball. Pittsburgh seemingly kind of needs to run the ball, but between Clowney and Bobby Wagner, Seattle's so formidable up front. I know nothing about Seattle's secondary anymore. So maybe Juju can get off. Ben needs to get some development with some of these young receivers.
Right.
It's got to happen sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they're going to dig themselves too big a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Steelers' offense was so horrific last week that it's hard to even say what their ideal flow is.
Yeah.
But just based on kind of the way Seattle plays defense and the way Seattle plays offense, I would think whoever gets the big play. Seattle wants the big play. The Steelers might just need to get it based on Seattle's style of defense and where they're weak. So whoever connects on that first or big long passing play, I think then they can start to dictate and that might be the key.
Yeah, almost like whoever scores first and has the luxury of playing from ahead and not having to, I guess, abandon the run necessarily.
Really, the Steelers need to just make routine plays routinely, and this game is one.
Yep.
It's pretty wise words, Chad.
So I'm picking them to win. I'm picking them to win because they're winners, and that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I think I also picked the Steelers. Let me double check. Yeah, okay, I did pick the Steelers. It's tough, man. I don't know.
I picked the Steelers too. I think it's a coin flip game, but the Steelers are at home. Seattle has to travel. You guys know how I feel about that. My little gambling
to the
brain.
East Coast. Yeah, I don't know. It's like my gut is telling me to pick the Seahawks. So like, I don't know. We'll see if my gut was right or not. But I picked the Steelers anyways. Because again, my brain is just tricking me again. Like, man, they can't just keep fucking running, can they? So I don't know.
You really can't learn anything about the Steelers from the Patriots. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, if you've seen any Steelers Patriots game over the last 15 years, like, they make the Steelers look like a high school team, like every time. And sometimes it's in the AFC Championship after they went 15-1. Like, it's just crazy. Like, this team maybe isn't that great. Maybe it's not going to win the division. These are probably crazy thoughts that are going through your heads, but they're definitely better than what they were on Sunday night.
Yeah.
They'll prove it to you Monday at 1:00. Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. All right. Let's move on.
Monday afternoon special.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Ravens and the Cardinals. The what is it? The Terrell Suggs revenge game.
Yeah. Terrell Suggs, the homecoming after the homecoming, because him going to Arizona was a bit of a homecoming. Yeah, man. I'm pretty confident in the Ravens this week. I think the biggest danger of this game is it's kind of a trap game because the Ravens go to Arrowhead Stadium next week, play the Chiefs. You got a rookie head coach, you got a rookie quarterback. Even though Jimmy Smith is going to miss a few weeks with his knee sprain, I really don't believe in any of the talent in the Cardinals receiver group as far as even Larry Fitzgerald, as savvy as he is, all right, he's no longer a number one receiver in the NFL, and so that means they don't have one. So I don't think, as deep and as versatile as the Ravens secondary is, I don't think that they'll really miss Jimmy Smith in this game much. The following week will almost certainly be a different story. David Johnson poses a really good test for Peanut on Wasso. Yeah. Maybe, Gary, Kyler Murray might decide to play baseball at halftime of this game. It's the Ravens home opener. They're putting the shield at midfield, the Ravens shield, not the NFL shield. That's making an appearance for the first time in a few years. Yeah, man. We'll get to see a little bit more of Lamar. So Jimmy Smith is missing from the Ravens secondary, but Patrick Peterson is still serving his suspension out of the Cardinals secondary. You know, a top 5 corner in the league for sure. So I think we see more of the same from the Ravens this week, which is to say that I think they win pretty handily, and we still don't really know how good they are, because I don't expect the Cardinals to be very good this year.
Yeah, I think
that's about it.
To kind of like jump back on what I was saying last week is that this is just another good opportunity to build Lamar Jackson's confidence and his ability to play as like a pocket passer, which I know, like, again, like, you know, people have said, and I'm right on board with, if that's not his style, he shouldn't have to play that style. But it's an important tool for him to have in his pocket so that when he, you know, has to throw the ball, that he can throw the ball. And as an NFL quarterback, you got to be able to throw the ball, right? So I think this is just like that opportune ability for him to have, you know, that game against Miami and then this game coming up, to establish the repertoire and chemistry with receivers, to get the comfortability in the pocket, to, you know, to build that confidence, and hopefully he can carry that into Arrowhead next week. But we'll get to that when that comes. So yeah, I mean, other than like some buffoonery or something, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what happened against Detroit last week. I probably should have watched that game, but it's wild to think about.
I don't know why you do that to yourself.
I don't know. Like, Kyler Murray, I watched him during the preseason a little bit, and I got from Kyler Murray when I watched him in the preseason exactly what I expected from Kyler Murray, which is like sitting in the pocket, not being able to see anything, and then running on to the outside, like to the outside hash mark, and then throwing the ball once he was past the lines, you know, the offensive and defensive line. And then when he did throw in the pocket, it was a batted ball. So it's just like, you know, that's what we got from him during the preseason. I don't know if that's what happened during Detroit. I know he had some batted balls against Detroit, but you know, I think the Ravens defense, you know, steps above the Lions defense, even with Matt Patricia. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say anything other than they should win this pretty handily.
Yeah, obviously they're big favorites, and Gary, I'm going to predict less than 9 sacks handily. I think
Kyler Murray's pretty elusive fella.
Seriously, in that I know you're just saying lots of sacks. I don't think it'll be many. The Ravens like to rush off the edge a lot like the Steelers, and even though Joey is right that they've been practicing against a speed quarterback and should be prepared, dude, once these big boys get on the field against a team they don't like and they want to hurt somebody, they get all fired up and they start making bad decisions. Like the Ravens need to be extremely disciplined in collapsing the pocket and not just running around the edge. Yep. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do that all game consistently. I think he's going to be able to escape the pocket. I think that in this game, even though the Ravens will probably win by a lot, I'm focused all on the linebackers. So the Ravens linebackers need to be disciplined coming around the edge. They also need to be disciplined tracking David Johnson and Kyler Murray. These are the two guys that can kill him. I think that they're capable of doing it, but I'd say like 2 sacks is a win this game. You know, what you want is for him to be in that pocket, getting all scared, not being able to see anything. I'm 5'7",
destroy his morale.
It's scary. You know, like you don't want him running around. You almost want your linebackers not to sack him, just to keep that pocket tight and close it in. You want that claustrophobia full blown. But Arizona's got good linebackers. They have Terrell Suggs, who got 2 sacks in week 1. They got Jordan Hicks. They got Hassan Reddick, who's a good young player, and Chandler Jones. And these are guys that can cause problems for the Ravens if their safeties do anything. Like if Lamar Jackson doesn't just get to throw 80-yard touchdowns to wide open receivers, the linebackers are going to cause him problems because those are the throws he likes to make. He likes to throw the dump offs to Mark Andrews, and he likes to run. And, you know, so if they can just get adequate safety play, Arizona's linebackers could actually give Lamar Jackson problems for the types of things he likes to do. So those are the guys that I'm going to be watching on both sides of the ball this week.
Yeah, I think the linebacker core for any defense that faces the Ravens this year is the most important unit on the field. Just like you said, everything Lamar Jackson does in the pass game is over the middle. Which is because of the play action and the threat of the run. But I think ideally, so Lamar said this week that nothing we saw last week offensively against Miami was different than the playbook that they had installed last year, which I think is really valuable, especially looking ahead. If they're able to win comfortably enough again to stay vanilla enough to have some tricks up their sleeve in Kansas City, that's really important to this football team. Obviously, they can't overlook the Cardinals, but I think it being the season home opener will help that some.
They can't overlook the Cardinals. It would just be nice if they could, like, overlook them a little. Is that what you're saying, Joey?
Well, no. I don't think they overlook the Dolphins. You know, if you're able to be up 35-3 at the half, 42-3 at the half, like that's pretty sweet, you know, even if it's 21-3 at the half. You know, that allows you to not get into a shell, which I don't think is even necessarily super possible with this team, as well as I think they're capable of running the ball. But to be able to dial it back, you don't have to get crazy. You know, the Patriots aren't out here in the first half of the season throwing fucking, well, except against the Steelers, Julian Edelman passes and shit like that. So typically,
yuck it up.
Well, they don't. They normally don't. You normally don't see that until the playoffs. So I think if they can keep a little bit up their sleeve for Kansas City, they'll still be able to win this football game without very much resistance. Wink Martindale should eat Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury alive.
You would think so.
You would. All right, let's roll on out and finish up the previews with the Bengals.
I'll lead this one. We agreed I would lead this. Justin, I want to give you a real opportunity right now. I'm going to just give you a little soft toss right into your wheelhouse. Did you know that despite Garoppolo's play last week, San Francisco's offensive line was graded as the best pass protecting offensive line in the whole NFL? So Does he suck? Do you want to talk about that at all, or
Hold on, give me a second.
just?
I gotta look up some Garoppolo stats real quick. Let's see how good or bad he was.
I'll give you a stat.
Okay.
1-0.
He did win.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So I mean, I guess it's good for them that they have a fantastic offensive line and they have the Shanahan offense. I don't know. I wouldn't call it an upset to the Bucs, especially right now. If you look at with the Bucs, I guess they're beating the Panthers at halftime. I don't know, but with how the Bucs played against them, I don't know if the win that San Francisco had is more indicative of San Francisco's success or the Bucs' failure. I don't really know, but I'm still not on the Garoppolo train. I still don't believe it. We'll see. Apparently he threw a touchdown, so out of 31 points, something like that. So I don't know.
He wasn't great last week. And that's despite the great pass protection. I think that San Francisco has a few interesting things going for them. I'll start with one. Their starting running back was Tevin Coleman, and he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
But every fantasy or anything podcast I ever listened to basically was generally in agreement that Matt Breida is actually their best runner. So he might be freed up to do more. Now, I don't know how much more he'll be able to do against Cincinnati's defensive front, but that could be an interesting little advantage, especially just kind of the flux of the offense. Dante Pettis was their big starting receiver last year, and he was effectively benched for Deebo Samuel and Marquise Goodwin last week. So the 49ers are kind of a confusing team to plan for right now, except for George Kittle, who, good luck planning for him. He's going to catch the ball, and then he's going to run you over. That's what your plan should be, to accept it. So that's going to be a real problem. And if San Francisco is at all willing to get him off the edge of the line where he could be disrupted by Cincinnati's defensive line, they're basically going to have to put somebody on him. And let me just warn you, if it's number 57, Jermaine Pratt, who I spent a lot of this preseason watching, they are going to be in real big trouble. Okay? Any Cincinnati fans? Big trouble. 57 versus 85? Bad news. Other than that, I really think Cincinnati can win this game. I think that the 49ers have a great defensive line, but everybody's going to look great going against Cincinnati's offensive line. Dalton played a pretty good game last week when they took away the running game. I think he can distribute the ball. And I think that Cincinnati playing at home, I think they got a shot at this. If they can just limit George Kittle to 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, they could win this game, 17-14. That can happen, right?
Yeah, it's tough with San Francisco, man. I don't know. On the surface, their defense obviously looks worse than Seattle's. So if Cincinnati is able to do anything remotely similar to what they did against Seattle, then Cincinnati should win the game handily at home. As far as San Francisco's offense, it's what big receivers do they really have? Is something I was thinking about the other day as well, other than, I guess, Kittle. Which Kittle is just, kind of an enigma, right? He had this breakout year last year, but the year before, he didn't really have much of anything. I understand a rookie year and everything. So I'm interested to see if Kittle is the real deal. I guess just almost as equally to see if Garoppolo is the real deal.
Also, his rookie year, Blaine Gabbert was out there throwing to him, and...
Right.
I think you should assume he's the real deal.
Right, but who was throwing to him last year?
That's what I mean. So he broke out last year with C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins throwing to him.
Right.
I think Kittle's legit. I'm
not saying he's not. I'm just saying we'll see.
Fair enough.
I took the grayest color between black and white.
I've got Cincinnati. In this football game, I just can't factor out the travel 3 time zones again.
And that's after traveling last week to Tampa.
Yeah.
They probably stayed on the East Coast. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if that's no factual information at all, but I know teams do that sometimes.
They do.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, they had the fortune of 2 pick sixes last week because they were playing against Jameis Winston, and he fucking gives that shit away like Halloween candy. I wouldn't expect Dalton to do that for them. The Bengals offense, even without AJ Green, has shown so much more promise than anything that Tampa Bay has shown this year or last, even with Mike Evans out there.
Yeah.
So if John Ross can continue to do John Ross things, and by that
minus
I mean
the injury,
catch half his targets, and they get Mixon going, if he can stay in the game,
he may not play. That is a fact.
Bernard even looked pretty good, I thought, against Seattle. And Bernard was the starting running back for a long time there.
Yeah.
Between him and Jeremy Hill, who they seemed hell-bent on running Jeremy Hill, even though Giovanni Bernard seemed like a pretty consistent back.
Yeah.
I just think that the Bengals have too much. San Francisco, all the crazy turnovers and pick sixes, that's going to regress back to the mean. And
so
yeah, I'm on Cincinnati.
Based on fantasy football, so I'm using Yahoo Fantasy, like pick distribution or whatever. San Francisco's favored, but it's 54-46, and I think that's the closest game this week. Yeah, it is the closest game this week between two teams. So
I think that could be a product of these are two teams that people not in the local areas know very much about. They know San Francisco won last week. They know the Bengals lost last week, and the Bengals are supposed to stink.
Do you guys want to guess what the biggest distribution is?
Pats Dolphins.
No. Yeah. Yes, Pats Dolphins. 99-1.
Ravens Cardinals is probably pretty high.
That's 93-7 or 97-3.
There's another. Really
Carolina is 97-3 Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Yeah. Houston Jacksonville is 96-4. These are pretty lopsided.
Kansas City Oakland's probably pretty high. This is a fun game.
That's 95-5. Yeah, I know.
If we can just list all the games.
Yeah.
Do you guys even...
Anyways, yeah. So let's move on to something a little more. I don't know. I can't think of the word. But let's move on. Let's talk about this week's games that are not the AFC North, which I guess we already went into. Yeah.
A little more audibly arousing.
That's right. Stimulating.
For the record, though, AFC North goes 4-0 this week.
Agreed.
Listeners, 4-0. Big week for the AFC North.
I wouldn't. Yeah, that sounds legit. But let's take a moment to stimulate your cochlea.
Ooh, hey now.
It's your ears, man. Your cochlea. What are you trying to say? Anyways, let's talk about your mistress. So this week, every week we like to talk about a game that we kind of call our mistress. So it's kind of like, you have your like main piece, right? Like, so mine would be the Browns, right? Joey's would be the Ravens, so on and so forth. But you also have that kind of side piece that's kind of a looker that you're like, damn, that's going to look pretty good this week. I really like that. And that's going to be the consistent segment that we're going to do on our preview episodes, which is going to be our weekly mistresses. So who wants to kick it off? Who's got a game they want to talk about?
I would love to kick it off because my mistress this week is an underdog.
Ooh, nice.
My mistress this week is the New Orleans Saints visiting the LA Rams.
Nice.
And while on the face, this game is difficult to pick because they were pretty evenly matched in the NFC Championship game last year, I think that exactly is the reason that New Orleans is going to bring the fight to the Rams, and they may not be ready to handle that.
You know who said that same exact thing, Joey?
Who's that?
Sam. My wife picked the Saints, and she's like, ooh, they're going to be angry.
Last week, the Rams were absolutely shredded by Christian McCaffrey. He had like 120 rush yards. He had like 10 catches for 80 yards. And You know who's really similar to Christian McCaffrey, but better? Alvin Kamara.
I would almost, yeah.
And on top of that, the Saints are an upgrade on offense everywhere over the Panthers. Latavius, they don't even ever need to line up Alvin Kamara in the backfield, except for to motion him out into one-on-one coverage with a linebacker so that he can absolutely fry everybody. Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. Ted Ginn still has it, apparently. I don't know if you watched much of the Monday Night Football game. I don't think the Rams are as good as they were last year. I think their offense is going to come back to earth a little bit, even with Cooper Kupp coming back. The whole Gurley thing's weird. He's on a pitch count this year, so he's got arthritis in his knee. He's got whatever's going on in his knee is not something that will ever heal. It's just something that they can manage fatigue on it, which is apparently the plan this year, which is why Malcolm Brown got so much love last week, and probably figures to again this week. But not having Todd Gurley be Todd Gurley, workhorse Todd Gurley, changes that offense a lot. And I know Sean McVay is a wizard and a genius and everything like that. But across the sideline is another pretty good offensive mind.
Right.
The Rams secondary, Weddle, I love him. He's aging. He's still an above average safety. And everyone else in their secondary is kind of just like a junkyard dog.
They got Clay Matthews, didn't they?
I mean, same story as Eric Weddle as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, obviously, he's the best player in football. But I think that the Rams are the Saints are just too good on offense, and they're going to have a little extra something for the Rams. Sean Payton is a grudge holder. So expect to see some trickery with Taysom Hill on some special teams plays. And I got the Saints. They're my mistress this week.
Nice. I really like the Saints too, actually. That was like one of my backup for who I was going to pick. But I did pick the Saints as well. I really like them. They're going to be sweet.
Rams.
Yeah, is that yours or no?
I took no, it's not my mistress, but I picked the Rams. I think that Todd Gurley is totally underestimated. He got way more snaps than Malcolm Brown, so they're still able to use him the deceptive way that they did last year just as effectively, and he had the 14 carries for like just about 100 yards. He's fine. But it'll be a great game. I think it'll be a great game. It's a great choice.
For sure. So mine that I picked this week, kind of weird. I don't know. I was running through and I was trying to find one that I really liked, but I actually really like the Vikings against Green Bay. This is a division game, obviously, right? The Vikings did so good last week, and Kirk Cousins threw like 10 passes. Like, what was it? Yeah, like 10 passes he fucking threw. Ridiculous, right? So Dalvin Cook obviously got a lot of work. Green Bay beat the Bears last week, but man, it's so tough to like determine that. Number one, because it's, again, week one, first game of the season, first game of the entire NFL season, not that. And Mitch Trubisky, man, like, I don't know if anybody really believes in that guy at this point, you know? So as far as their defense goes, I thought their defense was supposed to be a serious downgrade from last year, but obviously they held Mitch Trubisky. But we'll come to see if that's actually worth noting or not. You know, we'll come to see if that's actually an important factor. But man, I don't know. The Vikings, I love their defense. I love their offense. I love Thielen. I love Diggs. I love everything about him. Xavier on defense. I really like the Vikings, period. And but they're underdogged this week against Green Bay, which I think is just a product of, you know, people just being blinded by Aaron Rodgers maybe and thinking that he'll just make it happen. But as far as offensive weapons goes, I mean, he's lost like everybody. I don't know, man. I think that the Packers are done for, and I'm excited to see how prolific the Vikings offense can be.
I like it. I like the game. I think it's one of the marquee games of the week, but I also don't give a shit about it because it's happening at the same time as the Steelers game. Fair. So I will watch. 0 minutes.
Yeah.
But I do think the Vikings will win.
Yeah.
I'm also on the Vikings in that game, the underdog road Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably the Aaron Rodgers thing. Everybody believes in Aaron Rodgers. Didn't play particularly well against Chicago last week. Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky stinks. I think the Packers' defense is actually supposed to be pretty improved this year. They made a lot of signings. Zadarius Smith, who we're familiar with in the AFC North.
Right.
And Preston Smith, another off-ball linebacker. Adrian Amos, who's pretty good. I think he's a safety. I don't know. He made a play as a safety. But you know how DBs are nowadays. They just go wherever, the good ones. So it'll be really interesting. The only thing that gives me some pause picking the Vikings is I also don't trust Kirk Cousins. But if they can limit how many times Kirk Cousins actually is responsible for gaining yards in the offense, that's ideal, maybe. Right. So, yeah. Thielen and Diggs, they're awesome. Kyle Rudolph's awesome. Dalvin Cook's awesome.
Right.
It'll be close, I think.
Well, you guys are real cool, and you're picking good games with good teams, playing each other, playoff previews, and all that stuff. But I'm not interested in all that with my mistress this week at all. I'm interested in feeling good, and that's all about the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing the Raiders. The Chiefs are fun to watch every time. And you know what? It actually means something. It means something because the Chiefs are actually my mother's favorite team. So I grew up watching the Chiefs, and I rarely got to root for them because a lot of times they play at the same time as the Steelers, so I'm focused on that. Sometimes they're playoff rivals, and they have to play each other, and that happens. But this week, the Chiefs are playing a division rival who is actually my aunt, my mother's sister's favorite team. So we got family rivalry this week. The Chiefs are going to Oakland, and actually, I think Oakland played themselves. They beat Denver in Denver last week, so they're going to show some heart. But mostly, I just want to watch the Chiefs be awesome because I might need to just feel good. My team lost by 30 last week. I need all to feel good.
Yeah.
And the Chiefs are going to give it to me, so they're my mistress this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Sammy Watkins, so let's hope that plays out.
Yeah. That game is a late game, and I will certainly be watching to see what's up with this offense with no Tyreek Hill. How does Patrick Mahomes look without the most dynamic offensive player in the league? Maybe.
Spoiler alert: he doesn't look. He just throws the touchdown like this.
Fucking robbed me of fantasy points.
He missed his no-look pass this past week. So
I thought he made it. I thought I was hearing on the radio that he made it
into the damn stands.
Oh, did he? Yeah, I thought I was heard on the radio that he made it. But
Kelsey was wide open, and he just chucked it over his head.
What a chump.
I watched that game on condensed version after I watched the Steelers a second time because I was so sad. I wanted to be happy. And I actually didn't think Patrick Mahomes played that great. It's just they're so good that you didn't even really notice. Like, he missed some throws, but he made some throws. Like,
who's their running back now? I know they signed.
He's gonna look as we get it.
Well, Sean McCoy.
Yeah, they signed Hyde too, right?
Seems to be their number one. Hyde looked good too. Hyde was running with a little bit of edge.
Yeah, I mean, I never stopped liking Hyde when he stepped away from the Browns. I mean, obviously it shows they should have played Chubb. Well, you never fucking know. But Chubb obviously did fantastic. But I still think that Hyde was great. So I don't know, whatever. All right, so let's move on to the next kind of half of it, the other side of it, the side of games that you're kind of torn between picking. You really don't know where you're gonna go or why. So I want to kick it off just because I said I want to. I don't know, whatever. But the game that I was heartbroken with this week, as far as my picks, was Dallas and Washington. To be honest with you, Washington staged this huge comeback last week against the Eagles, and Washington, as a whole, last year also had this big surge. Their running back last week.
Other way around.
What's up?
The Eagles came back.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But what's it called? You broke me.
But last year,
Oh yeah, so last year the Redskins did much better than I think most people expected them to, right? And I think that they improved in a couple areas as well. Adrian Peterson didn't play last game either for some reason that I tried to look up, and I guess they still didn't say why. But Geis got hurt last game, so it looks like Adrian Peterson will probably be playing, right, against the Cowboys. The Cowboys, had this big high-flying game last week, and everyone's like, oh, the Cowboys are America's team again, right? But it's against the Giants, right? Like, they're like, oh, yeah, Dak Prescott threw 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, like, against the Giants, guys. Like, the Giants might as well be the equivalent of Miami this year, in my opinion.
Look at Joey nod his head in the affirmative, like it's a big deal for them, but not the Ravens.
But so it's difficult to say as far as Dallas goes. So I think that Dallas is going to kind of have this. I think for both teams, it's really going to be this kind of coming to game to figure out who is who, who's legit, who's not between the two of them. Case Keenum had a pretty good game last week, so we'll see what happens. I ended up picking the Cowboys, which is so not typical of me because I fucking hate the Cowboys. But I was just so torn, and I didn't know what to do, so I just went with the flow of everybody else because it's a 95-5% underdog. But again, this is another game that my gut's like, just pick the Redskins, but I don't know, man. I'm playing it safe, I guess.
Division rivals, NFC East. It's always a good choice for I picked the Cowboys too, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Redskins give them a game.
Right. Joey?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are pretty good. But like you said, it's just they're in the same boat as the Ravens. We still don't really know what they are. Like if the Dolphins are independent league baseball, the Giants are single A. Like they're just like a little bit higher.
Yeah. Because they have Saquon.
So I think the Cowboys still win. The only quarterback to throw for more yards than Dak Prescott last week?
Eli Manning? No,
it would have been.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I don't know.
Dalton threw for 418.
Oh,
right?
That's right.
The Red Rifle. So Dak Prescott's good and everything, but he's no Andy Dalton.
Right, for sure. Jeremy says Bills make the playoffs 100%. Bills Mafia. Fucking doubt it. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It has to be a wild card the way that things are looking. And,
yeah. Well, Jeremy, I don't know, especially if the
Chargers,
if the Jets have mono.
Sam
Darnold just makes out with the rest of the team. Sorry, go ahead.
Whoever's in second place in the AFC North. And
it's going to be tough.
Yeah, just the AFC South is a dumpster fire.
We have a great deal of respect for any quarterback that can turn the ball over 4 times and still win. I think we've all had guys on our teams like to.
We did talk a little bit about the Bills earlier, but something else that I didn't want to talk about at the time was how surprised I was by the ability of Josh Allen to be a runner. Like, he's a big physical dude, and he actually made some pretty good, moves on his own. Like when he saw nobody downfield in the pocket or the pocket collapsed or whatever, everything opened up. He just went off for it and got first downs. He even got a touchdown. So I don't know. I was like real hard up on, or I guess the opposite, real down on Josh Allen last year. And I know it's only one game, so I guess we'll see. But I don't know. I was surprised by Josh Allen. That's all I'll say.
I think you're about 11 months late on the realizing that Josh Allen is a really good athlete.
I think I am, man. I was just so fucking down on him. And then everyone was saying that like he was gonna be picked by the Browns. I was like, fuck this kid.
He had a viral moment last year against the Vikings where he hurdled Anthony Barr on a run. I'm pretty sure he had a game or two last year where he ran for more yards than he threw for.
Someone else did
People
that
were calling him the White Lamar Jackson.
Nice.
Joey, you got to realize that during that time, Justin was like so deep into the caverns of Browns fanaticism because they had probably won like 3 games.
Justin was just in.
The coolers were open, man.
Justin was in continuous climax for a 7-8-1 season.
Right.
I would like to go next with my tough to pick game because it sort of relates to Justin's pick. I took the Eagles and the Falcons for my game because The Eagles, well, I could snap my fingers at you, Joey, because the Saints and the Rams is in a very similar spot for me. But I think that the Eagles, they showed kind of two sides of themselves last week, and I just don't know what to expect. And the Falcons, I mean, they're way better than they played against the Vikings. They're going home, they're playing the home opener. So are we going to see the Eagles have a continuation of that comeback? Are the Falcons going to be able to start fast? I'd pick the Falcons to win this game, but I just have no confidence in it whatsoever. Like, I just don't have any idea what's going to happen in this game. And it's funny because it's two teams that could easily meet in the playoffs.
Maybe, I don't know. I think the Falcons are on the regression. I think that Carson Wentz just figured out that Deshaun Jackson is worth throwing the ball to. He should have figured that out much sooner. But yeah, I don't know. I picked the Eagles in this one. I think the Falcons are on the regression, and we have this like formula that we have from last year that held true like 100% of the time. Is the Falcons' defensive line good? And if the answer is yes, then they lose, because Matt Ryan is not good under pressure. It's just like a statistical like fact almost. So to be honest with you, they still have Fletcher Cox on the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still have, a great pass rush. So I'm going to say the Eagles.
Does your formula take into account that the Eagles signed a bunch of community college kids to their secondary? So if Matt Ryan just throws the ball in bounds, Calvin Ridley or Julio Jones will catch it every single time?
Or Mohamed Sanu.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. They had the same lineup last year, and Calvin Ridley did do pretty good, but the Falcons lost to the Bengals last year. I don't know. So
did the Ravens. Don't have much to say there.
Yeah.
This was one of my close games too. That is the big reason, Chad. The Eagles' secondary is their weakness on defense, and the pass game is absolutely the strength of the Falcons. Those receivers are grown-ass men. Ridley, Sanu, and Julio. They're coming home after playing a really, really tough Vikings team. So, they took a pretty solid L last week. But the Eagles historically have been a slow-starting football team, and they showed that again last week. And it is pretty feasible that if they start slow, Atlanta could hang 21 on them real fast. So I think this will be a really, really good game. This was one of my close ones that I circled too. I'm on Atlanta actually in this game.
Pound it.
All right, Joey, you got one?
Yeah, mine is 1:00. Colts at Titans. This is just a funky game. It's an AFC South matchup, which is always weird. You've got the Titans, who everybody pretty much agreed, I think, outside of Nashville, that they were going to finish last in the division. And you've got the Colts, who the Chargers, who everybody considered a playoff team, pretty solid a playoff team, needed overtime to beat them last week with a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. Well, he's not a backup anymore, but
Hoyer's the backup now.
So I think this is a really interesting matchup to finding out who exactly both of these teams are. How good Jacoby Brissett really is. What the Titans are on offense. Can Derrick Henry sustain what he did last week? Because he's had some games like that in his career, but he's been one of these guys where he'll rush for 400 yards in 2 weeks, and the other 14 weeks of the season, he runs for like 60 yards a game. So I don't have a ton of analysis for this game. I just don't really know how I feel about either team yet, and I think it'll probably be a pretty good game.
I've got some analysis for you.
All right, let's hear it.
11% of people are picking the Colts to win that game.
That's silly.
Which means that neither of you picked the Colts to win this game, because I did, because the Titans stink.
I picked the Colts. I'm letting you know.
You guys are smart. We're smart. Do you know how many people didn't pick the Titans if we all picked, oh my gosh, or whatever? I think that the Titans are bad. I think that they beat the pants off the Browns because the Browns played like trash. And now everybody just forgot. They're like, oh yeah, Andrew Luck retired and the Titans won a game. Dude, the Colts took the Chargers to overtime. Right. They're decent. They're a good team. They play good defense. Marcus Mariota, we'll use a little Joey language here, regress to the mean. And I'll tell you what, Marcus Mariota's mean, not a place you want to be.
It's real bad, yeah.
Yeah, I actually picked the Colts too on this one. The big factors for me were obviously the Colts defense, which I think is like fantastic. I love the Colts defense. And then on top of that, I think that even though they lost to the Chargers in overtime last week, like, man, that's got to be such a huge fucking pump up for that locker room. Like, their juices have to be flowing pretty fucking high. And I think they have a good offense. They've got a good offensive line. They have good weapons. It's just up to Jacoby Brissett if he can, like, flesh and chemistry all that shit out. And I'm on the same page as you, Chad. Like, the Titans, I've been the hater, which is probably why the Titans won, just to, like, show me, like, fuck you. But I've been a hater of the Titans for quite some time now. So I think that there's film out, there's footage, and I don't know. The Titans are going to lose.
Well, you can call me part of the 88%, because while Chad just called me a big old idiot pretty much, I picked the Titans.
Idiot.
For no real reason. Mike Vrabel is awesome. I think if there was a steel cage battle royale death match between all the NFL head coaches, Mike Vrabel would win it pretty handily, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think of coaches. I don't know, Greg Williams, man. He plays linebacker, apparently.
He's not a head coach. Exotic Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Go Derrick Henry. Pound that rock, son.
Exotic Smash Mouth.
Flying Hawaiian. Delaney Walker. They are who we thought they were.
Right.
Trash.
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. All right, so that's everything that we've got as far as our AFC North picks, and a little bit of extra sprinkled on top for you. Some other picks, the ones that we like, the ones that we don't. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode of the AFC Northcast. Joey, where's the game at with the Bucks and the Panthers? Do you have it up or no?
Carolina.
Okay.
Score.
Do you have it pulled up or no? I can pull it up real quick.
It's in Carolina.
You wanted an update.
Oh, where is it at?
Were you trolling or are you being serious?
It's 12-10 Panthers, but Chris Godwin just caught like a 30-yard pass to midfield.
I know, and he's on my fucking bench, but whatever.
If you have Graham Gano, tonight is your night, because the Panthers have 4 field goals.
Yeah.
Much to my fantasy team's dismay.
Gary says 12-10 Panthers, so...
But I picked up Andy Dalton in my fantasy league, so Cam Newton's about to get benched. Because I drafted Sam Darnold, and he can't stop kissing New York City sleuths.
Exactly.
So
apparently New York City high school girls or some shit, man. Who the fuck gets mono past the age of 17? Anyways, so that being said, there's our picks. There's the status of the game right now as we see it. And that wraps up an episode, I guess. We had a lot of interactions this episode, which made it a lot of fun, I think. So if we can keep those going, I think that can just increase the fun for everyone. So to pound that home, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're doing live streams so you can interact and chat with us live. It's good stuff. It's fun. We had some stuff today. We were more attentive this time, which is, again, what made it more fun as well. Also, join the Pigskin Pick'em. You can get a little bit of a shout out, and maybe we'll talk to you a little bit on the cast if you're doing well enough. Listen to us on anywhere you can get podcasts, and tell your friends, tell your family, make a community, spread a community. We can have some fun with this stuff. It's the AFC North, guys. It's the best division in fucking football. So
Tune in Tuesday to hear 3 grown men who live in houses throw stones at each other and other strangers.
For sure. That should be the plug. It's like the promo. But yeah, man. So Tuesday we're going to be back. We're going to be reviewing all of the games. All of them will have happened. It's going to be good stuff. You guys got anything else to sign off with?
I think that's a perfect note.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. All right. Take it easy, everybody.